Today, I'd like to talk to you about the Core Phonics Survey and the digital recording sheet that I've made for the Core Phonics. I've used the Core Phonics for a million years. I know many of us use it, and it's great, but it has some drawbacks in that it's hard to take care of all that paper. So I want to show you what I've made for it. Before we go on, I just want to let you know I'm Emily Laidlaw. You can find me at emilylaidlawtutor.com, and please come and visit my TPT store at Emily Laidlaw. I know I'm so original with names, right? So the Core Phonics Survey appears, we all have from the book, and then we have the PDF of it is around forever. And it involves the skills, and you have method to record the skills on these papers, and then you have a recording sheet like this, and then you've got all this, and then how do you check out how the student's doing over time except by having all of these multiple pieces of paper that you have to store? So I'm not crazy about that. I like to have it all in one place so that I can have the data organized and then I can see growth over time. So what I've made is a Google Sheets digital recording sheet for the Core Phonics Survey. Now, I am selling the 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 time it took to put all of this together and do all of the, formatting and all of that. I don't own the Core Phonics Survey, um, so I'm assuming you have that survey, and I'm just providing the organization for that. Okay, so within the Google Sheet, um, there are several sheets. So a Google Sheet is like a pad of paper with several sheets that you can flip over. The sheets that you will see are down here across the bottom. So I have one labeled instructions, and the instructions will walk you through um, how to use the digital recording sheet. I've got links here. So there's a link to a PDF, which is what I had just shown you. There's a link to the PDF that gives the instructions, the how to administer all the verbiage. There's another one just in case that one is corrupted at any point. This one is here. And then I have a link also here for the slides that have all the student material. So while I'm working with a student, I will use my two monitors and I will show the student material on one and record on the other. If I'm in person, I might print it out, put that in front of the student, and then have my recording on my computer and take my data that way. But if you are showing them sheets, I have it made for you. This link will make a copy of the various pages of the assessment from the alphabet on down to all the words. I made it very plain. What I do for my students is once I have a copy, I go in and I change it up. I change up the background so I can go into the master slide or edit theme and go and change the color. So I have a new student and her favorite color is a very light purple, and I might, go and change the color to all of the slides. Or I have a copy of this that has a Harry Potter background, and I put Harry Potter images on each of the slides very faintly behind the words, or things like that, just to have that little bit of connection with the students. So you can change it up however you like. You can change the font, all of that within the Google Slides. The other thing I do sometimes for my students is I have the Core Phonics list in WordWall, and I pull it up here in WordWall, and it's just like looks pretty engaging. And what I'll do is within the lists. So I think this one was list E possibly. Um, I throw in something like wiggle. So, we're going through and they have to read the words and read the words and read the words, and then they get, dance it. And we stand up and do a dance, whatever it takes to keep my students engaged. So, however you want to present the words to your students, whether you print it off and have them read it or you present it uh, digitally over the computer, you present the words, but your recording happens here in the digital recording sheet. Okay. What I do is make a copy for each student. So every time I have a student that's going to uh, take the Core Phonics survey, I duplicate this file for that student. So coming up here to File, make a copy, give it a name for that student, and then that student has that copy that keeps the records for that student. Okay. You put the student's name up here on the summary page. You see it's labeled, it's green here. Put the student's name in here, like this is amazing student there. And that name will populate the individual tests. And then I come over here to this is the first test, I might call it the pre-test. You can rename it if you want. And the student's name is here, and I would just put in the date. So today is 7-30-22. Put in the date. Okay. And that will transfer back to the summary sheet here. So I have the date here. So for the test that I'm giving today, it's just like on paper. You get to check that it's correct. And what I find easiest for the lower levels is I check it, grab this little corner square, grab it all the way down, and as if they're all correct, and then I uncheck the ones that were wrong. Okay, well, this one, she didn't say J, she said G. Uh, Next to each test item is a space that you can write in what the student did say, or any notes that you have for yourself. Like sometimes I might put in SC for self-corrected, or slow if they had to really think about it. So whatever notes that you find helpful, you have a space to do that here um, next to the test item. So it has the test items, the capital letters, lowercase letters here going on, and sounds. Again, I might check it all and uncheck the ones that were incorrect. So to check it, you just click on it, that checks it. Grab the little square in the corner, pull it down, and that copies it to all of them. And then I might uncheck the student didn't know this one and didn't know this one, whatever. And I might write in what they said if they said something incorrectly, or leave it blank. But the totals are calculated for you. See, the totals are calculated for you. And I go on and I give the test. It's as fast for me as making the checks on the paper, and then I don't have to transfer the data anywhere. The data is there. And then it's the collection of data over time that I find really helpful. What I've done a little different on the Core Phonics than the way they have it written is that I put a subtotal for real words and nonsense words, because when you have 15 words at a CVC level and the student read 10 of them correctly, that sounds like okay, that sounds pretty good, unless you realize that they read the 10 real words correctly and they couldn't read any of the nonsense words correctly. That gives me more information. So I like to see where the errors are. So I have a subtotal in here. I know it's not written that way, the way they present the test, but that's how I find it helpful for me, for my students. So you know, that's what I'm doing here. So I have a subtotal for real and nonsense, and for each of the sections. So you get a feel for what's happening. Okay. So as you go through and take the test, all of them have a space that you can write something in next to it as to what the student did say for all of these sessions. If you get to the multisyllabic word section, it tells you whether or not to continue. The instructions say if they've got, you know, 5 or fewer correct on the first group, then you stop. And if you have more than that, you continue. So I have it built in so that as you're reading it, and then boom, boom. Ah, okay, we've got enough correct. It'll tell us, do we continue? Yes, you're going to continue. And then you go on to do the next part. So that's done for you. You don't have to think about it. Like, what was that, uh, cut off? And it's there for you. It tells you to continue or not continue for all of these. That information is then taken here to the summary. And what I've got on the summary is the data is pulled here, and you can see now it is has this conditional formatting so that if I had all the data, it will give you colors. If you have what they say is the cutoff point for benchmark, it'll tell you benchmark. And if you're in the level that you need strategic support, it'll be yellow. And if you're at the point where you need intensive support, it'll be red. And it'll do that by category. So you can say, yep, we're at benchmark here, we're at benchmark here. Oh, we really tanked at this point. We went right to intensive. So just to give you that colored coded information to help you with assessing all the data. And I have it separated so that you can see real, nonsense, and total. Now, according to the instructions, that designation of benchmark, strategic, or intensive is just on the total, but I like to see the errors versus real versus nonsense. So I've included that here. And then you're done, you're finished, you've got all your information here for this test. You have two more tests that you can give, and then you can actually see the data over time of how you've moved from strategic to to benchmark or whatever across the various skills that you're teaching or concepts that you're teaching. Okay. You can change the names here. If you don't want to call it pretest, middle of year, end of year, change it to whatever you like. You can do that. What I do want to show you is that once I've completed a test, I want to protect it so that I don't accidentally change it. Because if I'm going through and I'm looking at this and I'm looking at this and, oh, I just accidentally made a check. Which one was it did I check? You know, did I do that or was it like that to begin with? I've made that mistake. So, because it's easy to, if your cursor's here and you accidentally check it. So, what I do when I'm done administering the test, I will come here to this little drop down arrow beside pretest or beside whichever test it is. One of the options is protect the sheet. So I protect the sheet. I'm going to say I am done. It doesn't really matter what you put in as a description. And I want to set permissions. I'm not trying to restrict who can make changes. I just don't want me to make changes accidentally. So I use the check a or show a warning when editing this range. So if I ever go back in there and I'm looking at it, if I accidentally press something, it's going to say, do you really want to make that change? I can say, no, I didn't mean to. That was a mistake. Or yes, I did. So I might set the uh, permission or the warning when I have a something I want to add on to here or just to prevent mistakes. The one thing I want to show you also is that there's a space down here for notes. If I want to make notes, just global notes for the student, I can put that in here and I'm going to type in here, you know, sound by sound, blending from CVC, or was very anxious. She said it was too hard, or whatever it is, whatever notes I want to put. And I'm just going to just do that. And I want you to see what happens because now it's protected. If I come in here, I'm going to make some notes. I'm going to say, yep, I want those notes. It gives me a word and says, heads up, you're trying to edit a part that's been protected. Do you really mean to? And I can say, yeah, I really mean to change this and hit OK. So I can make the changes. It just gives me a warning so I don't do it accidentally. The instructions will walk you through the steps. They are here. And the instructions gives you information about the correct verbiage to use. So there is a sheet here with the correct verbiage, what you're supposed to say for each section. And then within the sections, many of them have these little drop down arrows right here that will give you the verbiage for that section. Okay, here's what you're supposed to say. But all of this has the same set of instructions. So I didn't put it on each one. I just linked the instructions right there that you can go to. Okay, so that's there. And over time, I have information that I can collect and use to help me with planning and reporting for that student. I hope that's helpful to you. If you have any questions, please let me know at drop me an email and come and visit my website. And you can always get to me that way, and visit me at the Teachers Pay Teachers store. I've got the past test up, the Kilpatrick's past test. That one is up. I have the San Diego Quick up. This is going up, and I'll have others. And if you have an assessment that you use and would like to see a digital recording sheet, please let me know, because if you're using it, I may have already made it and just don't have it up yet, or I could probably make it if it's a popular assessment. All right, thanks. Hope that's helpful.